Chapter 6. I'm surprised I didn't wake our parents up with all Sophia's whining whenever she lost at Snap. It was the doorbell that woke them up, and Mum and Dad came into the living room smoothing down her hair. Sophia, put away your homework and answer the door. Your aunties are here. Yes and no, all at the same time, shrieked Sophia. This is the highlight of her week. Saturday night when we all watch Britain's Got Talent. Worse luck, tonight's the aunties are going to be here, and they talk a lot. Next door auntie is already at the door, too, having heard Auntie Shah and Auntie Jessie knocking. They aren't our real aunties, of course. If anyone more than 10 years older than me is fondly known as an aunt. We rarely see our real ones, as they all live in India. As they bustle through the door, already chatting and laughing loudly, Sophia races ahead of them and dives onto the sofa before they can take up all of their space with their big fat bottoms, as Sophia says rudely. She turns up the volume at full blast and hides the remote under her leg. She's so obvious, my sister. Please turn it down, we can't hear ourselves think, Mum moans. But Mum, she shouts, I can't find the remote. Turn it down just a little, darling, Dad reasons, finding the remote and hiding it from her. But Auntie Shah wants to watch it, don't you, Auntie? She looks pleasantly at next door Auntie. Next door Auntie smiles blankly at Sophia. She doesn't know what's been going on and turns back to listen to Auntie Jessie, who's banging on at next door Auntie about what a great matchmaker she is. You know, Mrs. Swan, you're a handsome woman. It's a shame you're to be alone. Let me take some details and I'm sure I can find you a nice young man. How about an Asian man? Auntie Jessie nudges next door Auntie gently. I'm pretty sure her offer's genuine. Get off with you. I'm too old to bother with all that at my age. Next door Auntie roars with laughter. I know lots of men, widowers who'd love a new wife and would suit you well. Please let's sort out a date or two. Auntie Jessie isn't giving up. No, I'm not getting involved with all that forced marriage lark. I've read about that in the paper, you know. Oh no, one would get me into that. It's barbaric, it is. Next door Auntie says, teasing Auntie Jessie, my dear Mrs. Swan, we are talking about a discreet introduction. You're mistaking arranged marriage with forced marriage. Auntie Jessie says, going bright red. Well, I don't care what you call it. I don't want some lazy good-for-nothing man in my life, not at my age. Auntie Jessie looks shocked at the outburst. It looks like next door Auntie has broken a record. She's the only person in history to get Auntie Jessie to back off. Coughing, Auntie Shah erupts to tension. You have no idea how many suitors we showed our dear Sasha, Auntie Shah boasts, swiftly bringing the focus of the evening back to Sasha's wedding. I know I showed her at least 10 of my best boys, Auntie Jessie sighs. You said 8 last time we told that story, I pipe in, remembering what she said at the wedding. But no one pays me any attention. Yes, but finally she met the right one, Auntie Shah says, looking as if she's about to start praying. I don't know what I would have done if I had met another 10 boys while she was being so fussy. I was fuming and was so riled inside I wish I had the guts to say what I was thinking. Sasha wasn't choosing a pair of shoes, you know. It was a man she would hopefully spend the rest of her life with. I knew she would fall for Jan. How could she not? She loved him from the moment he saw him, Auntie Jessie gushes. Speaking of weddings, have you met the new family who've moved in? They send one of their daughters back to their homeland to marry. My ears prick up. Do you have any other children? I ask, keen to have a new friend nearby. Yes, lots of children. I hear one your age, I think. Happy with an answer, I turn back to TV. This is such trash TV, they can't even sing, I complain. They are smart-looking boys, though, Auntie Shah says. It's all about the looks, Auntie, not talent, I tell with my eyes still glued to the TV. Don't watch it then, Vinny, you whinger, Sophia snorts. I could see she'd like to poke or kick me, but she knows she'll get told off if she does. Look, Mum, your favourite actor's coming on, I inform her helpfully. Yes, the granny's choice, Dad jokes. Mum flashes off with her best you're in trouble now look on the way to the kitchen. Yep, everyone votes a cute kid. Mum's favourite, how predictable. I say, bored now, picking up a book instead. Well, I'm a cute kid, says Sophia. Does that mean if I went on, I'll get all the votes and win? When can I go on, Dad? I can't wait to be rich and famous. Dad has said before he doesn't want us girls to be part of the X Factor generation. Instant fame and fortune is short-lived and ill-advised, he says. No, you need to work hard and aim for the stars if you may end up reaching for the sun. I will be a star, a genuine, A-listed celebrity, though I don't really want to go on the TV talent show. There's far too much queuing up for auditions and editing. And editing can make you look silly. Sophia has an answer for everything, but Sophia hates waiting or working for anything. She's one of the "I want it now" generation my dad complains about. "Dinner's ready," calls Mum, and for once she brings it through the living room and allows us to eat on a tray in front of the telly. Everyone who comes round gets a full-on catering. No one leaves our house hungry. No one needs a formal invitation, and good food is always on the menu. It was Sarge, and Sophia turns her nose up to refuse to eat it. Because my dad was so poor when he was young, we're not allowed to waste food. When Sophia tries to leave food she hates, it was when he says, "What about all those starving people in India?" "Send it to them then," she always replies sulkily. I think she's lucky she doesn't get a clap round the ear. "You girls just don't know how lucky you are. You never go to bed hungry," Dad says, repeating himself for the millionth time as we enjoy our feast while staring at the telly. When I was a boy, most nights we were hungry. I turned to look at him. Whenever Dad thinks about his childhood, he always has tears in his eyes. "Were you really that poor, Dad?" I asked with sympathy. "Yes, we were, but we were happy," Dad smiles. "I just became a little sad when we eat too much waste. The world has so little. I don't like everything Mum puts on my plate, but I force it down myself." I feel bad when Dad has said this. Britain's Got Talent finishes and I turn my attention to hear what the aunties are talking about. The TV's a bit loud to hear what's going on, but Sophia doesn't mind turning it off for the chance to hear the latest gossip. I roll my eyes and now can realise they're still talking about weddings. The only matchmaking story I never get tired of is the one about how my mum and dad met. I interrupt the aunties and turn to Mum and Dad and ask them to tell the story of how they met. "Well," Mum says, looking pleased, I ask, "I'd enrolled at the college Dad used to run in India, and I was one of his students. It was all a board, nothing naughty going on," he interrupts. "We'd known each other for a while, and eventually we started dating after I hounded your dad for months. I pretended I needed extra help with my college work one afternoon, and your dad finally agreed to take me out for ice cream. And then that was it. He was hooked. We started dating. I used to make him little snacks with love notes in." Mum giggles and looks at Dad. All the girls loved his poetry classes, especially when he used to write his own poems. He wrote in Hindu, Urdu, and sometimes English. The other girls thought he wrote his verses for them, but I always knew that he wrote his poems just for me. Even after we got married, some of the students still gave him gifts, small things like handkerchiefs or sweets with little silly love notes. He brought them all home to me. Do you remember? Mum says, turning to Dad. "Hang on, I haven't heard this bit before." "Yes, I remember everything." Dad looks down at his hand, smiling. "If we fancied our head of school and sent him love notes, Dad would kill us, so why was Mum allowed to do it?" Sophia splutters. "I thought dating and all that stuff was much stricter back in India." "Ah," says Dad. "Things were different back then. It was all very innocent with chaperones." Dad looked like he was about to get up and leave the room, but Sophia doesn't want the story to end. "Hey, tell us the rest. What's about the favourite bit when you ride into Mum's village and sweep her away on her beautiful white horse?" "Ah, wonderful match," he interrupts Auntie Jessie. "I couldn't have done it better myself," she admits slightly heavily. Mum continues the story. "Yes, his horse was white as snow and covered in garlands of pink and red flowers. Your dad looked like a king. He wore a cream suit with hundreds of his friends and students lined up in the roads to my parents' house. I was waiting outside on our wedding day, and he reached where I stood. He lifted me up onto his horse and he rode away into our honeymoon. It was better than a Bollywood scene. In the village, people still talk about our wedding. Dad looks lovely and Mum, and she describes this. She blushes to make herself even more beautiful. That will happen to me one day. Just you wait. Do you remember when I had just 5 boyfriends at the same time?" boasts Sophia. "I like Tony Lee the best." Dad always roars with laughter when Sophia talks her boyfriends, and she creates more and more to make him happy. Their friends, our aunties, our uncles, are always curious to hear how many boyfriends she can concur and tell us some of the whooping fibs she gets us all entertained. She's in such a hurry to grow up. Auntie Jessie pipes in. "I will have to start looking for a nice boy for her very soon." She starts and winks at Mum. "I don't think so, Jessie. It's entirely up to the girls when the time is right." Before Sophia can ask Auntie Jessie which boys she would match with her, Auntie Jessie turns her attention to me, squeezing my cheek hard. "And Vinny? Will Vinny go to college, or should she start looking for a nice boy now?" I flush red with anger as I recall the taxi driver who was going to stop his daughter from going to school by marrying her off to her cousin. I was going to college and no one would ever stop me. "No, No one is forcing me to marry, not ever, I snap. Who said anything about forcing? I meant about a love match, says Auntie Jessie with a reassuring pat. How could it be a love match if you're choosing? I demand. Why are you so upset? Dad looks in surprise. I can see him wondering why his normal, easygoing daughter is scowling and being so rude. I'm not getting married, I say firmly. I feel close to tears. Auntie Jessie's time is pretty bad. Touting a matchmaker business tonight was not going to work for me. Fortunately, she relents the conversation and turns back to Sasha and how successful the match was. When she has exhausted that conversation for the evening, the aunties go at last heave themselves up from the sofa. Mum and Dad go to see them off. Sophia looks at me carefully. Your time to get married will come first, I suppose. Who will I get married to, do you reckon? Do you reckon Dad will change his mind about letting us choose about with the boy he didn't like? I don't know, Sophia. I'm only 15, remember? I don't want to talk about it. Leave it, will you? What's wrong, Vinny? They won't really marry off, will they? I'm saved from answering the question by Mum and Dad coming back into the room. They ask some things Sophia just doesn't get. Come on, Madame, bedtime, says Mum, pulling Sophia off the sofa.